Hey everyone, and welcome to Groove Builders, the show where we create together. I'm your host, Disorderly Cone, and in this episode, we're going to be taking a look at my top 5 builds for Groove Builders in 2021. We've done all kinds of cool stuff here on the channel, from 3D metal models to making our own little 3D prints. What could possibly be in my list? Well, I guess the best place to start would be with number 5, and that goes to the Titanic. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, this is a classic build from Metal Earth, and I was really excited to actually share this build with you. Not only did I have fun, of course, actually making the videos. I always have fun making those videos, especially the silly parts, but building this model was a really big thing for me. This was one of my first builds that I ever did when it came to Metal Earth, and it was kind of one of the ones that kind of led me to making this channel, I guess, in a lot of ways. This was actually one of the first builds that I went over to Animate Orange's channel to get some help. That's the little top part here. And the reason why I'm showing you this one is because this is my original build. The one that we built together here on the show looks like these. See? They look like this. We can definitely see some improvements between the two. With this guy right here, I have some squish details, and with this one, everything lines up really nicely. That's because I've been building for about almost, well, 5 years at this point. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. And with this one, I had only been building for a few weeks. Definitely a cool thing, and again, I was so excited to be able to share this with you. The Titanic model is a fantastic build for any new beginner into the 3D metal model hobby, and the reason for that is because the details aren't really overcomplicated. Yes, we do have some cylinders on the top, and there are some smaller things we got to put together, and the hull can be tricky, but overall, this is a great model to start with, and one that I often direct people to that aren't into kind of the sci-fi stuff. With the Titanic in 5th place, what could possibly be in 4th? Well, this one actually has 2 different entries. The first being the Bender 1.0 tool. This was a fantastic thing for me. I actually got to do this from the ground up, and in my video what I really wanted to showcase was how I designed this and kind of came up with the idea. Yes, I know that there are other Bender tools that exist in the world, but they're very expensive. So I know this idea isn't necessarily original. So while there are many like it, this one is mine. And I'm very proud to be able to share it with all of you out there. I've had a lot of people say that I need to do more advertisements with these, and you're completely correct. The only thing is though, is I have one 3D printer, and poor little Matilda over here has been working overtime, not only making these 3D printing tools, but also making some other projects that I'm trying to do for the new year, especially some other prototype tools that I've been working on, and I really can't wait to share those with you. I know I keep teasing them, but I want to make sure they're perfect before they get out there. Once I get a few more of these printed, my plan is to actually do a full video on not only how to use this, but I'm also going to do some promo videos out there, not just for the Bender 1.0 tool, but actually for the store too. And I'm going to do them in my fun way. I have everything from like a used car dealership kind of commercial done up. I have a couple other ones too. So this will be a lot of fun. But the reason why this one sits in 4th place is because not only did I have a ton of fun building it, but now this is something that I can actually share directly with you, which I think is really cool. For our other part of 4th place, we have our samurai armors that we built this year. These guys were a lot of fun to build. They had a ton of detail, and what was really cool is I actually got to see the kind of evolution, if you will, from Metal Earth models. This one here being one of the earlier ones, and this one here being a brand new one that they released this year. I mean, they are starkly different, although there are some similarities, especially when it comes to how these little skirt pieces down here are formed, and also how the chest plates are formed. Are these builds overly difficult? Not really. Yes, there are some difficult bits. The little curvatures can be difficult for new builders out there, but if you have the proper tools, and of course, if you take a look at my videos for some tips and tricks, you should be able to get these guys built with no problem at all. I would highly recommend these for any new builders out there, or anyone who's really interested in Japanese culture, especially because these ones here are historical figures within the history of Japan. So with our Bender 1.0 tool and our armors taking up the 4th place, what could possibly be in 3rd? Good question. Well, our 3rd spot also has 2 entries, and for good reason too. That third entry goes first to Time for Machine Luxury Roadster. I know this one's going to surprise a lot of you out there, especially because of our history with Time for Machine and what I've talked about when it comes to the company. But this particular build was a ton of fun. I can understand why the creator of Time for Machine likes this build so much. Not only is it absolutely beautiful when it's built, but also the mechanics on the inside are really well done too. Yes, they are tricky to get built correctly, but once everything is lined up correctly and you get your first wind up out of this guy, actually being able to use it is a lot of fun, and it definitely shows off your building prowess. The Time for Machine builds definitely do tend to be on the more difficult side of builds, and they're also on the more pricey side too. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend picking up the Luxury Roadster if you're new to metal models, but if you have a couple of builds under your belt and you're looking to kind of get something a little on the premium side, I would definitely take a look at the Luxury Roadster. Not just because it looks fantastic, but also because of how it all goes together. Now, if Time for Machine was the first part of part 3, what could possibly be the other part? Well, that one goes to Metal Time. And you might be asking, who's Metal Time? We haven't even covered that here on the show. And now you're right, I actually haven't had the time to put this video out just yet. I'm working on it. It will be coming out soon. But man, these builds are cool, they're fantastic, and they're actually really easy to put together. Or at least this one was here, which is surprising when it comes to these thicker metal builds. Now, right off the bat, you might say, that looks like a Time for Machine build, and you are right. Even when you look at some of the instructions when it comes to this build, you can definitely see where some inspiration came from. However, I have found, well, at least with the 2 kits that I have built so far from Metal Time, that these guys have put a lot of work into the engineering, and they really want these builds to work better than any of the other ones out there on the market. And that attention to detail is very much evident by this build here. Let me just show you real quickly how this mechanism works. First of all, we have a little stopper here. This little stopper goes right there. That's going to stop the main gear from the inside from spinning around. And then we're going to wind the little piece here on the bottom. This is just like your normal spring that you've seen from Time for Machine before, with the little gears that catch on the side. You will actually see the propeller here kind of locking into place once it kind of reaches that little stopping part. There we go. Now that's enough winding for right now. All we need to do now is just flick this little switch here over. I'm going to try to show you the best I possibly can here. I'm going to flick this little switch and get ready for it. Look at that. I mean, that's fantastic. Not only does it do exactly what it said it's going to do, but at the end of the day, this model looks fantastic. And I've actually used this several times since. So it also shows that the mechanism inside can be used several times before wearing out, which has been a major problem with some of the other models that we've seen just like this one. So Time for Machine and Metal Time in third place. What's in second place? Oh, well, I bet a lot of you knew that this was definitely going to make the list, you just didn't know where. This is the Machine Planet Anglerfish. This build is so cool. Yes, it's a little complicated. There was some angling and some fishery that I had to do here, but overall, this build was a ton of fun to do. It's very different than the other 3D metal models that we've built here on the show, and that's because this guy here uses actual hardware pieces, but the pieces themselves come together for the most part pretty easily. The most difficult part that I had was on the top here, connecting the main fins. If you want to see me build this entire thing, don't forget to check out the video itself. It's a really cool thing to see this whole thing come together. Can I recommend this for new builders out there? Well, you know, if you have a good grasp of how metal models come together, I think you'll have no problem putting a complicated kit like this together. However, if you've never built a metal model and you just see this one, you're like, hey, that looks cool, I want to build it, I think you might struggle a little bit. There's definitely some finessing and some things you kind of learn from putting these puzzles together over time that helped me put this together with my first attempt. I did struggle, like I said, with the top here and with the teeth area down here below too, and that's with the amount of experience that I have, so I could only imagine some other builders out there kind of struggling with their first time. Overall though, this build definitely deserves our second spot, and I can't wait to actually put it up here on my wall somewhere in the new year on our new set. But no more about the set, I don't want to leak anything about that. Okay, so with our anglerfish here from the Moyo store being in second place, what could possibly be in first? What build could possibly outdo the benders and all the other cool stuff that we've done this year? What one build could do it? Well, Groovers, that one has to go to something that I have to hold dear to my heart. Something that I just can't get enough of, and that, my friends, is outer space. And the one build that we did this year that was just absolutely fantastic was the International Space Station. This build from Metal Earth is one of my favorites, if not the favorite build from Metal Earth, and that says quite a lot. Not only do I say this because this build looks fantastic, I mean everything down from the details down to the little tiny little pedals you gotta do here on the side, and again, just every little bit of detail that Metal Earth put into this build shows the amount of care and love that they have for outer space as well, and the space programs that go on in our world. The International Space Station has been done by a lot of different brands out there, from Lego down to paper models even, but I really do think that Metal Earth did this right. Right off the bat, I have to be extremely honest and say that this build is not for beginners. There is just a ton of detail here that's either extremely small, or we also have some of the more complex things to do in metal model building, like the cylinders, the cones, and all of these kinds of things. Overall though, the combination of all these techniques comes together with a fantastic looking model, and one that I display quite proudly amongst my collection. When I went to my Christmas market, my very first Christmas market, I put this one on display, and so many people came over and they said, I came over here just because I saw you wearing the Christmas hat first. I was the only one there wearing a Christmas hat at the Christmas market. Let me tell you, that's a weird thing. But they also said that they saw the International Space Station, and I couldn't blame them. I had to be extremely honest with everyone there, saying that it's definitely not a build you want to attempt on your first try with metal models, but it's definitely one you want to keep in your arsenal for later when you have built a couple under your belt and you're ready to take on something like this. This is not a build you want to rush. This is a build you want to enjoy all the way through, because once you're done, you're done. But man, when you're done, you have something really awesome and something you'll be very proud to have in your collection. And with that, Groovers, we're at the end of our list. I had a really good time sharing with you guys my top 5 builds of 2021. And if you guys had a good time, don't forget to press that like button. And in the new year, we have all kinds of neat projects coming out, not just with 3D metal models, but also with 3D printing, and I might be even trying to make the world's most powerful water gun, which I was trying to do last year, but got a little bit delayed. Probably shouldn't talk about that one too loudly. Yeah, don't want to miss that one. Press subscribe already. Until next time, Groovers, keep building. GB1, you're not supposed to pop the champagne yet. We still have a draw to do.